This is Jessie Ellis doing my persuasive speech, and this is my audience. Okay. Have you ever felt trapped, exposed, or humiliated? Have you ever been in a situation where you were scared for your life? Many animals face these horrible experiences every day. While some animals are captured from their natural lives in the wild to become a prop for human entertainment, others are born in captivity and spend their whole lives being screamed at, watched, whipped, or even starved for a few short minutes of human pleasure. Using non-domestic animals for pleasure is wrong. It is wrong because 1, they are different than domestic animals, 2, they should be in sanctuaries, not zoos, and 3, they deserve certain inalienable rights. First, I will explain to you the difference between domestic and non-domestic animals. A scientist named Lloyd Duhame defines domestic animals as pets in his article published in 2009. Many animals could be considered pets. For example, owning a golden retriever would be considered a social norm that no one would think twice about. But if you had a pet lion, chances are you would receive some strange looks on your daily stroll. If an animal is considered a pet, then they can be called domestic. According to geographer Jared Diamond, there are 6 criteria animals must meet to be considered domesticated, as stated in his book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, published in 2009. The first criteria is the animal cannot be a picky eater. It has to be able to find food around humans in their settlements. Secondly, the animal must mature quickly compared to humans. Taking care of a puppy for a couple months until it reaches adulthood would be much easier than taking care of an elephant for 15 years when it reaches adulthood. The third criteria is the animal must be willing to breed in captivity. Some animals, like elk, are not willing to breed in crowded environments. Fourth, the animal must be docile by nature. For example, cows and sheep are generally easygoing, but bison and buffalo are generally unpredictable and dangerous to humans. The fifth criteria is they cannot have a strong tendency to panic and flee. Animals like antelope and deer are easily frightened and flee at any sign of danger. Sheep, on the other hand, may be panicky, but when they are frightened, they have a tendency to flock together, which makes it easy to herd them. The sixth and final criteria is the animal must conform to a social hierarchy dominated by strong leadership. This way, they look at their human caregiver as the leader of the pack. Many animals come extremely close to meeting all 6, but cannot quite be considered domesticated if they do not fully meet the criteria. From my first main point, you have learned it is okay to keep domesticated animals as pets because they can live happily and comfortably in captivity. But non-domesticated animals clearly cannot live happily so close to humans and according to rules given to them by owners. So the first reason using non-domestic animals for pleasure is wrong is they are different than domestic animals. But some non-domesticated animals must be put in captivity for their own well-being and the existence of their species. Next, I will tell you how sanctuaries actually benefit non-domesticated animals compared to zoos. Secondly, they should live in sanctuaries, not zoos. Animal rights expert Doris Lynn explains how sanctuaries differ from zoos. In a recently published article, Lynn says the main difference between the two is why they exist and how the animals are obtained. Sanctuaries protect animal species and try to extend their existence by nursing them back to health and making sure they can live safely and healthily on their own, while zoos are made solely for human entertainment. Animals in sanctuaries are obtained because they can no longer survive on their own in the wild, while zoos breed, sell, trade, or even capture animals from the wild and do not consider the rights of the individual animals at all. Dr. Michael Hutchins, PhD in animal behaviors, also has explained the difference between zoos and sanctuaries. One of the key differences Hutchins talks about is the amount of space animals are given. At elephant sanctuaries, the elephants are given hundreds of acres for their living area, while at zoos, elephants are given only 1 acre to live in. Another difference Hutchins talks about is the breeding within the two. Animals are never brought into sanctuaries to breed. They are solely there for their individual welfare. However, at zoos, sometimes animals are brought in solely to breed and have babies to attract paying humans, proving that many zoo owners care more about money than the animals. As you have learned from my second main point, sanctuaries and zoos both keep non-domestic animals captive. But while zoos capture animals for human entertainment, sanctuaries exist to benefit and help wild animals. So the second reason using non-domestic animals for pleasure is wrong is they should live in sanctuaries, not zoos. Sanctuaries are a safe place for non-domesticated animals, keeping in mind their well-being and rights. Which brings me to my third and final point. They deserve certain inalienable rights. In a scholarly article published in 1998 by the journal The Animal's Agenda, the authors talk about an international campaign against bullfighting. Members of the Chicago Animal Rights Coalition spent 3 months in Mexico documenting the cruelty and barbarianism of bullfighting. Bulls are non-domestic animals and should not be kept in captivity in the first place, but how they are treated is absolutely disgusting. Bulls are kept in isolation cells and deprived of food and water so that they are weakened before their fight. The bulls then enter the arena where they are brutally beaten by at least 6 humans. The article also states that most people think the bulls are killed quickly at the end of the fight by being stabbed in the heart by a sword, but clearly the sadists fighting the bulls are no geniuses. They sometimes miss the heart and puncture lungs instead, leaving the bull to drown in its own blood. When the bull is down, the humans cut off ears, tails, or hooves to keep as trophies, but sometimes the bulls aren't actually dead when their body parts are being cut off, causing unbelievably excruciating pain. Just because these bulls cannot tell the humans to stop or fight back with sharp weapons does not mean they should be deprived of their right to live and be treated with respect. And the worst part, bulls are not the only animals subject to these sort of fights. A 2012 article written by Ian Elwood, an animal rights expert, states that every day different breeds of dogs, pigs, chickens, and other animals are put against each other to fight till the death. Forcing animals to fight each other until one is dead is so unbelievably cruel and wrong. My third and final main point shows that non-domestic animals deserve certain inalienable rights, such as the right to life. Having a pet does not make you a bad person. Dogs and cats naturally belong in houses and surrounded by humans. It is the non-domestic pets and captive wild animals that make the human race look a little less humane. Remember, using non-domestic animals for pleasure is wrong because 1, they are not the same as domestic animals. 2, they should live in sanctuaries and not in zoos. And 3, they deserve certain inalienable rights. So next time you decide to support a zoo by buying a day pass for the family, think about all of the non-domestic animals suffering in their little cages.